Hi, freaky friends. This is Colleen.
And this is Margaret.
And we're the Cousins Weird. And as you can tell, we're not together because it's Snowmageddon in the North Country. In northern New York, we got bombed.
We did, 100%.
Watertown, it was like 57 inches yesterday, it said. And then I think we got another 6 last night here. I don't know what you guys got towards Copenhagen.
A lot. Like over 3 feet. Like yeah. It's probably 4 feet because when I was walking, we were paying a guy to plow our driveway this year. We found a guy who does it, who charges by plow instead of this much per month, because I freaking hate that. You end up paying way more than you need to. But I might hate that after this because he's already racked up $75 just this weekend, plowing. But it's like dug a path out and it's like above, it's like to my waist.
Yeah.
On the sides. And I'm like,
it's awful. It's not, there's streets in town, like schools are already closed tomorrow here.
Really?
Carthage, Watertown, Indian River, because there's so many streets that haven't been plowed. We got dumped on in 24 hours. They couldn't keep up with it. So it's just been a mess. And we're in our homes because it's a mess out there. And we didn't want to have to deal with that. So we were like, we'll just do this from home. Because, it seems like the universe is trying to keep us from recording our podcast in the last 2 months. Yeah. But we're not going to let it ruin our good time.
The first day it snowed, the guy came in the morning when we only had a few inches of snow and he plowed us out. And then when Ruben was done work, came home at 5, there's 3 feet of snow in the driveway. Yeah. And I live in the country and we're not paved. So we're trying to move lake effect snow, which is technically light, but it's wicked packy and sticky. Oh, and there's so mud. Heavy. There's mud underneath the snow. So we're trying to shovel, and we're grabbing shovelfuls of snow and mud. And we had to plow. Anybody who knows me, from the road to our garage, because we knew more snow was coming. So it was like, we can't just leave the car in the driveway, because then it'll never get out. And then the plow guy won't be able to plow. So we shoveled at 6 o'clock at night in the dark. Ugh. From the road to the garage.
Horrible.
And I wanted to die. I actually thought I was going to vomit, and I thought I might be dying. It was pretty terrible.
I hate shoveling. I did my stairs and dug out our garbage, but because of my disc issues on my neck and back, I can't shovel for very long. But when I did, I was like, oh my God, that hurt. That hurt so bad. My lower back has been out since I did it. And I've been out with the dog about 150 times because he loves the snow and he's driving me nuts. So I keep taking him out. He's pulling me around, jumping. He's so cute, but God, it's annoying after a while.
Yeah. So, what's funny? It's like I'm so unprepared for the kids for school because they need snow pants, but I can't find any. I want to buy them, but nobody has them to sell to me.
You're probably have to order it.
It's awful, and I hate ordering stuff like that because inevitably it's going to come and it's not going to fit, and then what do you do?
Right.
So I don't know.
You'll sending it back.
It's just I
have on Amazon though. You just take it to Kohl's to do your send.
That's true.
So that's helpful.
But then a lot of times you have to wait till they receive it before you get a refund to order another pair. And it's like, I don't have that much disposable income. You know what I mean?
I can't be willy-nilly with the snow paints.
Hey, I can't. Oh, God.
So it's kind of fitting because I try to do a Thanksgiving themed episode anyway. So it works that it's being released the week of Thanksgiving. So it kind of worked out. You ready?
Yes.
You ready for it?
Let's get into it, Colleen.
I'm going to talk to you about haunted Plymouth.
Ooh.
Plymouth is where the quote unquote first Thanksgiving was. And I'm not going to get into the darkness that is what we celebrate, okay? Because we all know that the people that came to colonize the United States treated the people that
lived here already
horribly, and we celebrate them, and it makes no sense. But we're not going to talk. We're talking about ghosts.
Okay.
Just wanted to get that out of the way. That I am not glorifying or celebrating people that treated Indigenous people poorly. Okay, I'm just not doing it. But we're going to talk about Plymouth and its hauntings. So we always talk about how things store energy, especially when they experience great tragedy. And Plymouth has seen its share of tragedy. So it definitely holds on to some energy. And strangely enough, most of the energy is coming from Victorian times, which I really starting to believe that you can't be a spirit or a ghost unless you were alive in the 1800s. The only ones there are.
I had knockings on the door.
I heard the knockings on my chamber door. So Plymouth is actually known as America's hometown because it was the site of the first Pilgrims colony in 1620 when they arrived on the Mayflower. Before their arrival, it was a thriving village of the Patuxet tribe, and they actually got wiped out by a plague, which was probably brought because the pilgrims that came over weren't the first pilgrims to come and give disease to the indigenous people. So they probably got a plague from some other European people that came over and gave them a plague. And these poor people had a thriving, a tribe in a thriving area, and they all died because of the plague. So it's no surprise that the years of tragedy here in Plymouth area, there's going to be some hauntings. And it's actually one of America's first paranormal locations, like one of the first locations that people started looking for ghosts in because of the history.
Cool.
So first we're going to talk about the Spooner house. The Spooner family lived in Plymouth in the house for 200 years. It was built in 1748, and now it's a museum. Now the house is haunted by an 8-year-old little girl named Abigail Townsend, who is said to have passed away in her upstairs bedroom from a tooth infection. Which is sad. But
that's
Abigail,
horrifying.
Yes. Which like infections back then killed everyone.
Yes.
There was not antibiotics, so everyone just died. If you got infection, you're dead. Unless you chop your limb off or something.
Yeah, even yanking the tooth out isn't going to guarantee she's not
No, because it's in the gooms.
Yeah.
It'd be in your gooms or
in the jawbone.
Yeah, which is terrible. So Abigail can be seen skipping rope in the alleyway. She has welcomed people to the house. Like there were some painters that came to the house to work on it, and she was the one that opened the door for them. Was there at the door for them, reading them.
Crazy.
She
That's how I feel about a ghostly child answering the door.
She'll appear in her bedroom window, looking down out the window. Many people report seeing a girl with a puffy face. So they're thinking that her face is puffy from her tooth infection. Aww. Which is not fair for her that she has to haunt with a tooth infection face. Like, I just don't think that's fair for her.
That isn't. Dude, that's the worst.
I know.
Ugh.
Poor girl's got to live her eternity with a tooth infection. God.
That sucks.
If you knock on the alley door, the shade in her bedroom moves and you'll see someone looking out it. So they say if you go to the door of the Spooner house and knock on the alley door, her bedroom is up to the right. You look in that window, someone will look out at you.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I know. I kind of want to do it.
Yeah.
The Antiquarian Society held a seance in the bedroom of James Spooner, who lived there, obviously. The guide that brought the medium to the room, she kind of showed her around the place a little bit beforehand. Before the guide sat down into James Spooner's room to do the seance, the medium said to the guide, "Jimmy wants to know why you're napping on the floor and not on the perfectly good sofa." Guide was completely shocked and then embarrassed and admitted to them that they once did take a nap on the floor in the room because they considered the furniture artifacts. She would never lay on the couch in there. So she took the nap on the floor, and he asked the medium, like there's no way the medium would have known.
Oh my God.
No one knew. And she was like, "What? He's calling me out."
That is cool.
I know. That medium actually said that there was 2 little girls in the house, Elizabeth and Abigail Townsend. When she said there were 2 girls, the EMF they had in the room went off. So as to confirm, yes, there's 2 of us here, not just 1. Then there is the Captain Thomas Phillips house, which was built on Mill Street in 1725. He was a captain. He built the house for him and his daughter to live in. Apparently, there was not a mom. It was just him and his daughter. But sadly, he was swept off deck of a ship and died in 1724, which makes no sense. I think he didn't make it into the house, basically. The house was being built while he died. So the house was finished. His daughter, who was young, she was a minor at the time, inherited the house. So Josiah Cotton, the grandfather, decided he was going to have Hannah, the daughter, move in with him and rent the house out because Hannah couldn't live there on her own. And instead of selling the house, we'll just rent it out. But once the tenants were in there were some squabbles among the tenant and Josiah about some stuff. But basically, at some point, the tenants of the house all broke their lease because they said that Captain Thompson Phillips had returned from the watery grave and brought the devil himself with him. Doors and windows opened and closed on their own. Rumors spread and no one would rent from him. Like everyone, they left. They're like, we're not coming back. And they told everyone why. And Josiah is pissed because he's like, I got this house I can't rent out. What are we going to do with it? No one's going to want to buy it. So he takes the people to court for like basically slander. Like you're making it so no one wants to come here. You can't say that this place is haunted. Several Plymouth residents actually would testify in court. One name was Isaac Robinson. And he recalled an incident in which there was a man named Lessing Clark living there, told him that he spied a preternatural. Yes. Preternatural, that's it. Light, plain as the light of a candle in the front alley's upper window. Clark described a great noise like the banging of a door to and fro, which he maintained confirmed his suspicion that there's something extraordinary going on in the house. Timothy Holloway, too, related a similar encounter in which Clark told him that he could not live no longer in Mr. Phillips' house. When he was asked to explain, Clark allegedly asserted that because of such unusual noise in the house, he nor nobody else could live in it as it was haunted with evil spirits. He said they heard inexplicable groans that sounded like someone was in a dying posture.
Oh, this is awful. No, thank you.
He said that he heard sounds of canes rapping against the walls, doors, cabinets, and drawers flying open. One night, a neighbor of the house, Mary Little, spied a pale bluish light in the garret window and feared it was a fire. She watched it for actually an hour and a half or half an hour. Like, I guess she didn't go get help. She just watched
it's a fire. I'll just watch.
And then it just disappeared. So
Yikes.
She said she was one of the people that testified that it was indeed haunted. The trial went on. The court case went on. There was different people talking about the hauntings. And he was basically saying that they can't say that it's haunted. Like, Cotton took him to court because he's like, you can't say this. Like, but the court ruled against Cotton in the original trial, and then he appealed it, and they ruled against it again, saying there's no proof that it wasn't haunted. So this is like the first legally haunted place.
That's awesome.
Because he couldn't tell them they couldn't call it haunted because there's no proof that it wasn't, basically.
Oh my God.
So that was interesting. Then there's the Trask House. Some people call it the beating heart of Plymouth, which makes me think of Edgar Allan Poe and Telltale Heart. But it's actually currently ran by the current generation of Trask. So it's been in this family forever. And it's another museum. There's lots of museums in Plymouth because of history or whatever. In this place, again, visitors say that they hear disembodied voices and footsteps. Doors slam shut so hard the walls shake. Paranormal activity has increased in there since the well in the basement was sealed up. To the point where the woman who's the caretaker of it, like the family maintains it, but there's a caretaker that lives there. She reached out to Jack Osborne's show, Portals of Hell, and they actually aired an episode this year about the Trask House. So I'm going to have to watch that because I didn't even know Jack Osborne had a paranormal show. But he does.
Me neither.
I'm going to watch it. So there's another spot that's very, very considered probably the most haunted place. The hauntedest. Yes, that's the word.
Hauntedest.
Hauntedest place. This is called Burial Hill. and it's considered the oldest burial site in the U.S. Now, on the National Register of Historical Places, it said it's been used since 1620. Mayflower passengers are actually buried there, and the last person to be buried there was in 1957. Being that it's so old, like the first place like where registered people were buried, like it was registered on documents and stuff. There's a lot of unmarked graves now because early headstones are made of wood, so they just disintegrated.
Yeah.
Obviously, so you don't know where everyone's buried, but it's in the registry. It says there's more than 2,500 people buried here. A lot of people see orbs and light and anomalies, which took me a minute to say, but I did it. Which are the most commonly reported, especially in pictures. There's a lot of orbs captured. Also here, there actually is a mass grave.
Oh.
Yeah, this is some tragedy that happened. On Christmas 1778, a crew of the ship General Arnold sought refuge at Plymouth Harbor from the icy waves. So it was like storming. It was like
you realize who the General Arnold they're talking about is, don't you? Benedict Arnold was a general.
What
year was this?
General Arnold, not
1779.
8.
Yeah, this was before he was a traitor. So they totally would have had ships named after him.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a cool thing to think of. Like, ooh.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
So it was a ship named after him.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it was cursed. I don't know.
Maybe.
So it's stormy. It's ice. Like the waves were freezing as they hit the decks. It was bad. So they were like trying to get into Plymouth Harbor, and they hit a sandbar. When they hit the sandbar with such force that it started taking in water. And the men on the ship were forced to go to the deck, where they started getting pummeled,
Yes.
Pummeled with icy waves. So just imagine like this weather with waves of water from
oh my god,
smashing against you and over top of you and all over the place.
And the people, just because you're inside the boat, you're still getting that water is seeping through the cracks and the things and getting you wet.
They also couldn't stay because the water, it started taking on water. So they had to go up to the deck. So they had no choice but to even go from where they might have stayed less frozen.
Oh my god. They're definitely, you imagine how cold it was in the boat. The boat was in the part that's under the water.
Yeah. Freezing.
It's amazing they didn't have hypothermia.
Well, they did.
Yeah.
Hypothermia and frostbite started almost instantly. The locals of Plymouth watched. They could do nothing because they were kind of trapped where they were. They couldn't get out to them for 2 days. When they got to the ship, they found 70 men were frozen.
Eek.
Yeah. They buried them in a mass 60-foot grave in Burial Hill. So Captain James McGee was the captain of the ship, and he actually was a survivor. And he spent his life with a lot of guilt that he got to live and his crew didn't. And his thing was that he wanted to be buried with his crew. But he passed away 23 years later, and they didn't bury him with his crew, but he was buried near them.
Okay.
But it might be why he haunts the cemetery today, because he had so much guilt, or he was pissed because they didn't bury him with the other guys in the mass grave. They gave him his own plot.
Yeah.
But there's a woman named Vicky, and she's a tour guide in the area for different historical places. And she says that Captain McGee has touched, this is her words quoted, Captain McGee has touched me on regular basis while I'm giving a tour. I'm like, no, thank you.
No touching. Don't touch. You don't have permission for that.
No. She says a woman on tour saw a man dressed in uniform walking back and forth between the trees near the Sailor's Monument. Tour guides will get brain freeze headaches there. So they're like feeling the effects of that cold water.
Yuck.
One guide gets so cold near the monument that she will not tell the story of how the crew died at their burial and monument site. She speaks about it after they leave that area. Like they go past it, she gets past it quick, tells them, hey, look at it. I'll tell you about what's there in a minute. And she takes them farther away because she's like, no, I can't stand there with this ice headache and tell you what happened. Horrible. She also said that one couple took a picture of Vicky, the tour guide. They took a picture of her while she was telling the story, and an orb appeared in the picture over her shoulder. Oh. She says, I assume it was James McGee because he would have visited the graves of his crew. She said it was a green face kind of thing over her shoulder. She said
That's
during the
creepy as
time
shit.
before she even saw it, while she was talking, she felt something, a presence next to her by her right shoulder. So creepy.
Yes.
James McGee. Creepy James McGee. That's his name. Stop touching people and peering over their shoulders.
I know. That's just no touchy, no peering. No peering and no touching. Those are the rules.
No, keep your hands to yourself, sir.
I'm sorry. Okay, creepy ghosts peering out of windows when you look at the house. That that's cool. I can get behind that. Right. But not peering at me
over my shoulder,
over people's shoulders, and you don't know. No. It's worse after the fact to know that something was there and you didn't know. I think that's worse.
Yeah. That's worse for me. Worse. Like I always think about those things where someone was saying something. I was reading or saw. I can't even remember. It was a Zoom thing where I was listening to a podcast. Maybe I don't remember. They're talking about how this girl her friend found out her house was haunted because she was on a Zoom call, and her person she was talking to on the Zoom call said, "Oh, who's at the house with you? I thought you said you were alone." And she's like, "What are you talking about? I am alone." She's like, "There was a man that just walked behind you." And she said,
"No,
I'm sorry, Zoom's over. I'm out. I can't. What did I hear that on?
Police. It's like, no.
Could have been morbid. It could have been a morbid podcast. I think they had a guest on talking about maybe said something about that.
Something?
Nope, it was actually a guest. They had a guest on, and I can't. Gosh, I wish I could credit people, but I can't. But if you like morbid, you probably already listen to it, so you don't.
I don't listen to all the guest episodes, only guests that I'm interested in.
Yeah. This girl was really cool. Can't remember her name at all because that's how my brain works. And she is a YouTuber, maybe? I don't know. She doesn't like scary things, which was funny.
Cameron Esposito?
Could it have been? I don't know.
I listened to that one, but I don't remember her saying anything about that. But Cameron Esposito is a fantastic comedian. Like, so funny. Oh my God.
I don't remember. I don't remember. It was on Morbid though.
See, I listened to that episode, but I didn't remember hearing that.
Oh,
that didn't have
one of the episodes.
It wasn't a Halloween. They've had a lot of guests.
Maybe it was a Halloween one.
Oh, they've had a lot of guests.
Anyway, creepy.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like it. I don't get behind that at all.
No.
Nope.
People, many people, not just a few, lots of people have seen a Victorian couple walking to and from the grave of Ida Lizzie Spear, who passed away very young at like 2 years old. It's thought that it's her parents, Elizabeth, Russell Raymond, and Thomas Spear. But when they're seen holding hands, and you're like, oh, there's a couple holding hands and they're wearing Victorian clothes. You look down, there's no legs. They're just kind of floating.
Oh, I don't like that either.
But they don't mind anyone. They don't pay attention. They're definitely on a loop. They're definitely, because they probably visited her grave often. They're definitely, that energy is just looping over and over again.
Yeah.
Into the grave. So Vicky, who says she rarely saw anything while she was working, but she thought maybe because she was so involved in the tours that she wasn't noticing. So she decided to shadow one of her colleagues when she was giving a tour, and she said it was crazy. She walked down the street, and as she walked down the street, lights would go off. She says she noticed more phenomena when I went with her on a tour than I went on my own tours. She said, I was enjoying listening to her tell stories of the burial hill. One night, all of a sudden, she looked as if she was going to fall backwards. She thought it was an owl, or some of the people on the tour felt this breeze go past, and the girl, like, almost to a point where she almost fell backwards because she was trying to avoid something. The next day, the guide had an abscessed tooth, and she felt as if she had been attacked the day before. Vicky said that her colleague had not wanted to go up on Burial Hill that night because of what happened, because of that weird, like, almost being pushed over feeling. Come to find out, it was the first anniversary of the death of a guy. He was a poet and artist named Michael Wolfe Pasgarnis. People called him a very nice man. And Wolfe predicted his death by lightning strike on September 8th, 2010, at the base of his favorite tree in Burial Hill. And he died right there. But his friends and relatives say that he had said that that's how he was going to die.
That's crazy.
And when she felt like she was going to be knocked over was the anniversary of his death. So they wonder if his spirit was just like soaring around. I don't know.
Crazy.
There's another tree on top of a stairway that has roots that look like hands reaching into the earth. And some say it's a Native American guardian that sits there watching over the cemetery. And she says that also the EMF will go off at that tree all the time, that there's something definitely there. But come to find out, they did an archaeological dig there, and Burial Hill, they found pilgrim artifacts, but they also found Native American artifacts of the Native Americans that were there during the plague. So it's definitely proof that the Native Americans actually used it before the pilgrims did.
It's probably the pilgrims used it.
Yeah. So it was definitely used way before 16 whatever, because the Native Americans were using it before then. So there's also a person that's seen walking up a hill wearing deer skin, and if he turns around and looks at you, he has no eyes. But it's an indigenous person walking around in the cemetery, like looping back and forth. But he will turn and look at you with no eyeballs, and I don't know why he has no eyes. I don't
like that.
No eyes. I don't want to see it.
No, I don't like the no eye thing. That's creepy.
So the last thing I'm going to talk about is this is what I was going to do a whole episode on, but there's just not a ton of stuff to do with the whole episode on, but it got me down this path.
Okay.
Last but not least, seen in the Burial Hill are puckwudgies.
Oh, I've heard of those.
Yeah,
puckwudgies.
They're in Harry Potter, by the way, which means person of the wilderness. They're from the Wampanoag tribe. Wampanoag, yeah, that's how you say it, right? Wampanoag. That's the indigenous tribe that the pilgrims supposedly had their first Thanksgiving with. Part of their tribe. It's like a folklore of their tribe. They're a small creature, about 3 feet tall. They have human-like features, but really large ears, nose, and fingers. Their skin is smooth and gray, and they like to taunt and harm humans.
Oh.
Now, there's this whole story about how they used to get along with humans, but they got pissed because the Wampanoag tribe were worshiping this giant, and they didn't like the giant. They wanted them to like them instead, and they got mad and killed the giant's son. And then after that, they just were pissed at that tribe, and they were out to get them.
They're like leprechauns.
They're very much like a leprechaun.
They're angry leprechauns.
They're a little angry creatures. You could compare it to like a troll too. Like you see trolls, they're kind of ugly and big noses.
They're more of a clurican.
They're like a clurican, yes.
Yes. Go back and listen to that episode. Colleen's episode on the cluricans.
The cluricans, yeah. They like to taunt and harm humans, like I said, and they create fire at will, and they'll lure people deep into the woods to their demise.
Oh no! They're so cute though, with their weird long fingers and big noses and ears.
All I can think of is those. What are those little things that?
Dobby, house elves?
No.
Elves?
Remember that book we used to have? Thingamajigs.
Oh yeah.
The thingamajigs. They were hideous things. They'd pick their nose, and that's all I can think of when I think of these. So they had big noses and big long fingers. I wonder if they were drawn after.
Maybe.
These. I don't know. But they're also shapeshifters that can turn into different creatures. They like to turn into large walking porcupines with humanoid faces. That's not horrifying at all.
No, I don't like that.
Yeah, sometimes they'll turn into a dangerous animal like a cougar, so they can attack people. They love to shoot fiery arrows that can kill you on contact. And they also will lure people off cliffs. They'll gravitate towards areas that already are rich in supernatural lore. Like they're been seen at the Bridgewater Triangle in Massachusetts, Lizzie Borden's house in Massachusetts, Burial Hill, because they tend to go around places that already have some kind of supernatural something going on. So, but when people get hurt in this area, like if they're on a trail hiking or if they fall off a cliff, something like that happens.
It's the puckwudgies.
It's the puckwudgies because they are after people. Now, the Wampanoag people say that if you're walking in the woods, beware and do not say their name. Now, they're like fairies and other like little magical beings. You don't want to mess with the
No.
So they're definitely like a mix between like claricons, leprechauns, trolls, fairies. They're just these little things but again, people have seen little creatures running around the cemetery, but they're like little short things that they've never seen before. Sometimes they look like a porcupine, and they actually stick nearer to also where the Wampanoag tribe would be. So they were in those areas. So in Massachusetts is where and they are also up in the Algonquin Park area. Like that area is very much, or at least Pukwudgie area.
But Pukwudgie is just fun to say.
Pukwudgies, I know. And I really have a hard time saying Wampanoag because I have to I keep want to switch the P and the A and my head doesn't like to do words in general. So that's the hauntings of Plymouth. And they said that the medium that went to Burial Hill said that what she really feels there are Victorian spirits.
Yeah.
She does not feel native indigenous people there. Other places in Plymouth she did. Now, other people say that there's a Native American guardian that sits upon that tree and watches over Burial Hill. And then other people have seen someone in a deer skin walking, which we only can imagine being a, indigenous person. So who knows who's right? But there's lots of energy loops and hauntings happening in those old colonial areas. And a lot of times, I mean, they struggled to live too. Like there was disease spreading everywhere on the East Coast. Like as, the more people clumped together, the more people were dying because they're just spreading disease to each other. And then they were nice enough to go out and, give it to the poor people that already lived here. And I think I've talked about this before, how like the Native Americans were not ones, they didn't start scalping people. They did that because when they were big in wigs in England and they sent ships over to the US just to try to get more land, basically is what they were trying to do. The Queen loved their long, silky hair of the Native Americans, and they scalped the Native Americans for wigs for England.
Yeah, because that's
so nice. The savages, which is not my words when I'm saying that, who scalped people because they were scalped. They
learned it.
They're
from them.
We're going to take this from you, and we're going to do it to you because you did this to our people. And it's sickening and gross. And the amount of stuff we do not learn in history about the truth behind colonization is sickening. I mean, when it comes to colonization, when it comes to slavery in our country, the dark parts they don't like to tell you about, but it's important to know about them because people died and were tortured and were denied any kind of life. And it's not fair to pretend it didn't happen. It's disgusting to pretend it didn't happen. We don't sweep that shit under the rug because it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. I'm embarrassed about that part of our history. It's not cool. Too. Thanksgiving, I don't celebrate pilgrims. I enjoy my family.
Me too.
And I like to think that I try to learn more about Native Americans and the real story about it because I think that kind of honors the people that were, treated terribly. The best I can anyway.
Yeah.
So. My brother's coming home tomorrow. He's gonna be here.
Fun.
Until
Mr.
Saturday.
Eric?
Yeah, Saturday or Sunday.
Which ones of his kids is coming with him?
I think Sydney and Kyler are coming.
Nice.
Yeah. It'll be fun to have him home. What you're going to your sister-in-law's?
Yeah, we're having a Korean Thanksgiving feast.
Fun.
I'm so looking forward to it.
Wait. Let's talk about something real quick.
Kimchi.
Yes.
I already talked to Ruben about it, so I told him that we have to have extra kimchi for you. And he said, oh, we do. I go, yes.
You said, I can't be shamed.
Yes, I go, she keeps shaming me on the podcast because she's never had it. He goes, oh.
Margaret's sick of being shamed by me. I figure if I call her out publicly, I'll more have to get it.
I know. The problem is you're going to get it, and then you'll be like, oh my God, it's so good, and then you'll probably never get it again.
Darn it.
It's like, you know what it is you eat it, and you're like, oh my God, this is so good. And then you get the stuff from the grocery store, and you're like,
It's not
meh.
as good anymore.
Like, meh.
Well, it's all I'll be able to have, so I just have to live with it, I guess.
I don't know. Well, you should go to the Korean market and pick it up. It's not that far from you.
I just
You
don't
get
ever go anywhere.
fresh kimchi right from them. They have all kinds of good stuff in there. Colleen, seaweed snacks. That's the
Seaweed
reason to
snacks.
go.
I should get some.
Yeah, they come in a little thing, and they're little salty
Yeah.
strips of toasted seaweed, and they're all oily and salty and delicious.
Yum. I can put
We
them
get
in my
them.
fake sushi bowls.
Yeah, so
They
just
make-
eat them like a chip. They're all crispy, and my kids, you could bribe them to do anything with seaweed snacks. They're like Scooby snacks.
I was gonna say like Scooby snacks.
They really are. They're like the Huang children snacks.
That's so funny.
Yeah, like they bring them to school for snack. I'm gonna share this at school. I'm like, you realize most of those kids are not gonna want to eat that.
I know.
But they're so good. It's like because they've had them since they were little. You know?
It's like
So-
your taste buds are defined.
Acclimated to it.
Yeah. So they really should follow us.
They
on
really
Facebook and
should.
Instagram, because
Yep.
you're gonna see pictures of the Puckwugsy.
Puckwudgies.
Puckwudgies. We have technical difficulties, so I haven't said it in a minute. I have to say it a lot to get it.
Yeah,
Five
we're having-
pictures of our episodes. Go on there, and then you can share our episodes with your friends from there too.
Yes, and you can reach out to us through email at thecousinsweird@gmail.com, or you can also send us a direct message through Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah, we want to hear from you. We want to see if you have any stories to share with us about bizarre things that have happened in your life or something you know about, or any episodes, topics that you might be interested in. We want to hear what you want to know. So
Yeah.
reach out to us, please. And if you want to support our podcast, other than sharing our podcast, which is the best way to do to share
Absolutely.
or help us, is to share our podcast and follow us on all the platforms that you listen to us on, so you always know when we have a new episode.
Definitely.
You can support us through patreon.com/thecousinsweird. For $1 a month, you become a
Freaky friend.
and you get it was so funny. You get a free sticker and bonus episodes, and for $5 a month, you become a
Terrible trender.
and you get the same as a freaky friend, but you also get ad-free episodes, a yearly gift, and a monthly Patreon chat with us and other Patreons, which is super fun and exciting because we get on Skype and we talk to each other, and it's usually just some we ramble a lot. I don't know if you can tell. It just goes all over the place, our conversations on a typical basis. So that's what you can expect.
Definitely.
But it will be other things that, are weird and bizarre that we'll talk about too. Which I was wondering, I don't know if the people that listen to our podcast would be interested in it, of us having a little, like our own group where they can discuss episodes on like the Facebooks, where
We
they can
should.
discuss each episode with each other, which I thought that would be kind of fun to do. And maybe we could even do every once in a while do a little discussion chat inside the group itself. So if people are interested in that, you should reach out to us and let us know. If we should bother. Should we bother? I don't know.
We should. I think we should.
I think we should too. I think that's it.
So stay freaky, friends.
Enjoy your Thursday, whatever you do. Love your family, love your community, be nice to each other, be cool.
Bye.
Bye.